Sometimes it's best to go ahead and give up. Sometimes it's just best to go ahead and give up. Two people. Welcome back. Sorry, everything's a clusterfuck tonight. And on top of all that, apparently, if you're streaming from your phone and you don't schedule it from a device other than your phone, you can't rotate the screen. Once you started setting up the stream, obviously something has changed, right? Something always changes. Ugh. Let me see if I can at least get chat up. Is chat gonna come up? Chat filter, top messages, all messages. Dude, you suck. I know. It's not me. It's this phone. I've gotten the live streams down to almost a science if I'm using my laptop. And that, you talk about a lot of work. That is a lot of work. It's easy as hell to start these streams on a phone. Any 8-year-old can do it. It's just when things go wrong, it's almost impossible to recover on a phone. I don't know. Maybe I don't. Maybe I'm just an idiot. I'm trying to get this chat set up somewhere. Content. Maybe I can pull up a stream now. Nope, just the one that ended already. 26 views. This having live streams is driving me to drink. We'll get it figured out. What's up, John? Ricardo, what's going on, man? Brian, I see you and I hear you. Don't mess with anything before you screw up something again. Yeah. I would like to say, let me see. Well, actually, the chat seems to be hanging around. That's the only thing that I can't stand. Well, there's a couple of things I can't stand about streaming from a phone. Number one, the biggest thing is it's easy enough for an 8-year-old to do. But when you're trying to stream from your phone and watch the chat, it's almost impossible. Like, I can't see the chat without my glasses. Tech sure is fun, said no one. I'm actually in tech. I've been in tech, I don't know, 20-something years. You'd think I'd be able to figure this out. And most of the time, I'm good at tech because I don't give up. But man, I tell you, I was just going on a rant before the last stream ended. My rant was basically engineers and interfaces. Engineers are good at building stuff. They're just not good at interfaces. They're not good at dealing with the human element, and that's it. Bad software is almost always, in my opinion, almost. So what the hell is going on with the screen? There's another one from your phone. That automated iris is going dark, it's going light, it's going dark, it's going light. Like I said, the streaming from your phone is amazing. It's amazing that anybody could do any of this stuff, number one. But to be able to do it from something you carry around in your pocket, I said this, I don't know, a year or two back. The amazing thing is 20 years ago, if you wanted to do what I'm doing now, you had to have a multi-million-dollar truck with a satellite dish on it and $100,000 cameras that had cords that went back to the truck that shot stuff up to the satellite. You could have a live feed, but it would cost you millions of dollars. And, you know, a lot of the news stations had those things. The bigger news stations had them. Well, even some of the smaller ones, I guess. But yeah, it's a miracle that we can do this on something that fits in our pockets. What's up, Kyle? Long time, man. Always wanted to try live, but what would I talk about? Come up with a topic, Brian. That's kind of what I just wanted to talk about hammocks. So, and probably ask you guys about maybe some questions. I've got a rough outline of the things that I want to talk about. I mean, in the future videos that I'm going to make, because I would never dare to try to cover a complex topic like hammocks in any kind of detail. I just kind of want to talk about it in a broad scale and talk about some of the ideas that I've got bouncing around in my head, and then talk to you guys, see if I can get any ideas about what I need to cover from you guys, because I guess it's easier to pry information out of people, feedback. It's easier on a live stream, to me, it seems like, than it is, hey, leave me some comments and let me know what you think. I don't know. People just don't like to comment. They don't like stuff hanging around forever, I guess. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. I think most of the people that comment on live streams have commented before on my videos. But let me know if it's easier or harder, or if you have a feeling about dropping comments on a live stream versus comments on a video. Because I get feedback from all of them on regular videos, scheduled videos that I post. It's easier to take time to respond to all of them. Although I can respond if I see the comment on a live stream, I can respond immediately in theory. And how is the crazy brake lever testing going? I'm focused on other things now. I'm focused on the rideability of the bike right now. I got so much stuff I need to do to this bike. I got to get tires. I got to service it. I changed the oil a year ago when I was in Idaho at Brian's mom's house, as a matter of fact. And the tires they got 10% tread left on them. So it's just kind of like all the stuff that takes money, and I'm struggling right now. So it's like, okay, I can throw some stuff at the wall and try to get the brakes done, but it's going to be a while before I get into the dirt anyway. So I'm just trying to slowly kind of do the things that I feel like will make an impact immediately rather than the spring, because it may be the spring before I get this thing out in the dirt. Although I did go riding with Luke the other day, and we got in some trouble. Anybody else that would have ridden with us that rides a dual sport wouldn't have thought trouble at all. And in fact, Luke was even asking me, what do you mean? What's the big deal? It's like, well, we're riding across this greasy, muddy, and it was like less than 20 yards of mud. Two little sections of it. The first one was easy. It was just a little mound. We went around a barrier on a road. We just went for a street ride, and I was like, oh, there's this cool little road over here. It's closed. We go around the barriers. Well, the first one was no big deal. The second one was off camber, and I'm riding like this, and I just rode down this big hill, and the road went like this, and then I had to turn like that and go up the road. And I'm like, man, I got bald tires, one leg, and I got no rear brakes. I can't stop this thing. I got to grab a handful of front brakes. I'm like, I started panicking. I was like, oh, geez, I did not want to get myself into this position. Anyway, so I'm trying to stay out of the dirt until I can put the shit together better. Talk about Dawn. Yeah, talk about me. I'm so interesting. Just watched your first ride video. That was awesome, man. Congrats. That's a really big freaking deal. Yeah, it was a big deal. And yeah, that's another reason it's terrifying to ride. I wished I had that old feeling where I got on my motorcycle and, 10 minutes later down the road, I'm relaxed, or I'm in the process of relaxing, and now it's not as relaxing as it used to be. And I'll get there. I know it's just a matter of time, but it's like becoming comfortable on that bike is like number one priority. And then number two is putting some tires on it. Number three is getting the brakes rigged up. Fixed my front brake caliper sticky slide pins. Grease. I bet you're supposed to put some high temperature grease on there. I bet. But I don't know, man. I run my mouth like I know stuff about motorcycles. And I know the stuff that I've learned over the years, but I'm by far not the expert, especially when it comes to servicing and maintenance and stuff like that. I just know what I know. I know what's worked for me, but it just seems like that should be some kind of high temperature grease that goes on those little sliders. I'm sure they'll be full of grit and grime if you did that, but same for your axles. I mean, you put grease on your axles when you slide them through there because you don't want them to bind up, number one, right? I don't know. Does anybody know? So what we're talking about, I watched Luke change his front and rear brakes on his KLR 650 yesterday, and I've had the rear brakes on my KLR, the one I had years ago, bind up, and they kind of got sideways and bound up and just kind of smoked my brakes. But I wonder. So his pads have 2 holes in them on both pads, and you slide the pads on, and the caliper pushes them across these little pins that go through the calipers. And my guess is that anything that's moving like that, you want to reduce the friction. But would grease reduce the friction in the short term? In the long term, it's just going to cause a bunch of grit and grime and sand and shit to get in there, or would it be something else? That's the question I have for the audience. Back to, I asked a question. I don't know that I actually got any answers. Is it harder for you guys does it feel more comfortable posting comments in a live stream than it is on a video? That's number one. Answer that question. I don't know. Everybody might be on their phone. It may be hard as hell to post a comment in the chat unless you're a 12-year-old girl. And I don't have a whole lot of 12-year-old girls watching me as far as I know. If 12-year-old girls are watching my channel, go find somebody else to watch. Papa don't want you watching his dirty mouth and off-color topics. I was looking at some analytics this morning, and I've got a lot of younger audience members flooding in. That may be, I think it may be closing on 30% of my audience is under 45, which is really weird because most of my audience has always been 45 to 105, whatever the higher end. What do you call it? Demographics. You got to understand your demographics, because if you're talking to a bunch of 80-year-olds, they probably don't want to talk about wheelies. They don't want to talk about dirt racing, probably. So hammocks. The idea that I've got in my head is kind of do the thing that I've been doing before. But if I wanted to share the information that I've already shared out there, I would have to reproduce those videos. I don't want to reproduce those videos, but I do want to share that information. And maybe I can do a better job this time talking about why hammocks are superior to tents. And I probably have a list of 20 reasons. And then I want to also talk about the reasons why sometimes hammocks suck. And that's kind of what I'm doing this week I have got a device that came with this hammock. This is a Hennessy hammock. This came with a folding ground pad kind of thing, but it's like a really tough, thicker Reflectix. I don't know if you know what Reflectix is. It's kind of insulation. It's the stuff that people put in their car windows. So you've got this thing that's folded up and you put it in your car window. It reflects all the light and some of the heat. Well, that's basically what I've got inserted in between the layers in this Hennessy. And it has worked pretty well up down into I think it was like the high 30s so far. I was going to sleep in it last night, but by the time I got ready to go to bed, it was still 40 out here. I was like, man, it's going to take forever. Maybe I'll just get up early in the morning when it's 27 degrees out here. And that's never going to happen. But the thought did cross my head. It's like, man, I don't want to wait till 2 o'clock in the morning and not be able to assess. I want to assess right now. I want to assess when it's cold. I want to crawl into my hammock when it's cold, when it's in the low 30s, high 20s, whatever, and go, yeah, this is going to work or it's not. And sometimes hammocks slowly suck the heat out of your body. If you've never camped in a hammock in the cold without any kind of underquilt or insulation or something protecting your body from, is it conduction? I can't remember. Did a video on that too. It's been so long. My physics is weak. But it's either convection or conduction that transfers your body heat. So when your skin or when your clothes, if you're laying in a sleeping bag, number one, that sleeping bag's compressed, right? So you don't have very much insulation value on that. So even in a sweater, sitting in your sleeping bag, in a hammock, if you don't have anything underneath, you're going to lose your body heat pretty quickly. And I found out that the hard way many years ago. In Yellowstone, for all places, it was a hot day. The sun started going down just like this. I had 2 or 3 beers. I'm sitting there going, oh, this is going to be so nice. Stealth camping in Yellowstone. And I woke up about, I don't know, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock. First time 1 o'clock. I was like, geez, I'm freezing. And I didn't have any insulation. I had a sleeping bag. I didn't have any insulation in that hammock. And I was relatively new back then. This is 2011. Anyway, I was relatively new hammock camper, and nobody said, hey, man, make sure you get some underquilt there if you're going to go. Temperatures are going to go down below 60. And I probably would have been fine 60 or above. I think it got down to like 37 that night. It went from, 87 to 37. Anyway, I learned my lesson the hard way. I got up, put all my riding gear on, got back in. I was like, fuck this. So I packed up my shit at, I think by that time, it's like 3:30 in the morning, and went down to the only building in Yellowstone that was open. It was a laundromat. It had showers in it, except all the showers were locked up. So I could do laundry, and that was about it. So I sat in this cold ass laundromat trying to stave off hypothermia, and it worked. I didn't die, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of one of the things that's, you shouldn't learn that stuff the hard way. Just kind of like you shouldn't learn that your 15-year-old tent is not going to keep you dry if you haven't checked the waterproofing. Most people find that out the hard way, so I think that's funny. But learning it the hard way, like my friend Johnny did. If I don't do anything else, share any other video from the Trans-America Trail, I've got to share that little catastrophe that Johnny showed up, met me at I can't remember where we met, but we wound up camping that night at a campground, a really nice campground. And he pulled out his tent, set it up, and it came in a pretty good storm, and he got drenched because he did not check his gear. And I can't remember the last time he said he set it up. I think it was the year before, but kind of hard to believe because that thing was like Swiss cheese. I mean, it was just So he wound up throwing all his camping gear away. Anyway, it's like just like seeing a wet dog. And, you know, it could have been much worse. It could have been, you know, winter. I'm trying to think. It was closing. I think it was fall. Was it September? End of August? I think it's first week or two in September. I can't remember. But anyway, that's the video. Because I was like, man, you mind if I record this? I'm just like, I really got to share this lesson with everybody. Are we still live? I got no comments. Is anybody still in here? I asked a question earlier. Is it easier to comment on the live stream, or is it easier to comment on a video? Obviously, it's starting to look like it's easier to comment on a video because not a single person has responded to that. I'm gonna sit here and wait for a response. I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna pout. Sit here drinking a beer and pout. 21 people in here, not a single response. I don't know, maybe this chat doesn't always work, so who the hell knows? It looks like I'm into the end of the chats, though. If I pull up the phone that wasn't working earlier, oh, there's no connection. No freaking wonder. Huh. Well, that would do it. I think I must be getting kicked on and off of the network. Maybe that's it. That would do it. Back online. Skip, please. Not a single chat. Not a single response. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I'm not seeing the chats here, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm seeing them here. This is what I normally do. I usually have another phone when I'm shooting from my phone. Jeez, this just really sucks. Golly, let me catch up on the chats here. Sorry, y'all. I am not seeing anything on that phone. The last chat I see on this phone is Luke's response, and he said something the other day that there was a bunch of chats that I didn't respond to. Well, it's happening again. I think it's just this crappy software, man. DJI microphone. You also have a DJI. Yeah, I've had Ricardo. I've had a DJI camera forever, and I love this microphone. This setup is really, really nice. So I've got the spinning thing here, which doesn't matter. I've got a few chats. I'll catch up on these chats. Oh, Charlie. Sorry. Still have. Here's the worst part. You'll be scrolling through the chats and the screen will just jump and you'll lose your place. GTSY, or I don't know what that is, boosted. Definitely on a live stream, I think your phone isn't working. I did. Lots of comments. Yeah, I'm just now seeing them, y'all. I'm sorry. Usually watch on my laptop, always easy to comment. Yeah, it's much easier. Everything, it's a world of difference between a computer and a mobile device. It's ridiculous. Just randomly check my subs and you were live. Well, good. Booster, glad to have you, man. Kamikaze, easier on the live stream. I prefer to engage in live where possible. Yeah, that's my guess. I get a lot more response from people. And maybe it's like we're having a conversation. That's the only thing that makes any sense to me, is that people feel like we're having a conversation. And that's kind of what I do too. You get a lot more stuff out of me on the live stream than you will ever get out of the video, because before I even click record when I'm making a video, I'm always thinking, what do I want to talk about? So it's filtered before I even get started, before I click record. And then I take the raw footage and I put it all in a clump and go, man, I start with, this is too long. There's a bunch of crap in here. I just start cutting. And then I start, I start filtering, mega filtering after that. So if you want much closer to reality and absolutely much closer to actually hanging out with me in person, the live stream is the place to do it. And if you can't put up with me on a live stream, you probably don't want to hang out with me in person, because I'm just as obnoxious or more in person. But sorry for the technical screw up. But yeah, I don't think this live stream has even moved yet. No, it's still, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed on the chats. Nothing. And I can't do anything to change it. I can't scroll. I can't do anything. It's just sitting there with Luke's last chat. How about that? All messages. All messages. Top messages. Show most recent. Okay. It's been difficult to stay on. What are your plans for when there are no trees, like in the desert? That's a good question, Frank. Most of the time, and people will argue this, but most of the time when I'm in the desert, I just throw out a bedroll or something and just sleep in the desert. Most of the time, you don't have insects in the desert. You don't have rain. You don't have the things that people think that you got to have. Like most of the time, unless you're in a bug-infested wilderness, you don't really need that screen that comes over your tent. So, really, if you think about it, what is a tent for? A tent is to protect you from wind and rain and bugs. A little bit of temperature, but there's not that much difference between a tent and this, except that airflow underneath. So most of the time when I'm in the desert, or the plains, any place that there's not, cool motorcycle. It's a Mexican restaurant across the street. And there's people riding in winter. This is crazy. It's going to be, before those guys get home, it could be freezing before it's starting to get really cold out here. I'm starting to get cold. But yeah, Frank, that's the answer to that, is most of the time. And I've been known to do that. Just, I don't want to set up my damn hammock. There's a nice little grassy whatever over there, especially when I got a ground pad. My big Agnes ground pad popped. I took it to Vintage Fest, Barber Motorsports a few weeks back, and it's the first time I've camped, period. And I just threw the damn thing. I mean, they had a bunch of tarps set up. That's kind of where I used to hang out with a bunch of friends back in the day. But I just blew up this ground pad, crawled around on the ground, had my sleeping bag and a little pillow, just laid down, and then suddenly my ground pad just. So maybe what I'm going to start doing is taking a squishy one like this. I wish I could take all this stuff out and show you. But yeah, that's the answer, is just go to the ground. As long as you got something to sleep on. Chat is not working. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Easier on the live stream. Prefer to engage with live. Yeah, nothing, doesn't seem like anything's working now. Oh well. Top messages. Well, my internet's definitely not working on this phone. I think that was the whole problem. I got 2 hammock stands from Tensa. They cost $75 each. Tensa solo stands. Highly recommend getting them. Man, that's a lot of gear to haul around just to sleep in a hammock. I'd rather just go to the ground. I mean, y'all seen the kind of stuff that I carry on my trips anyway. You rode yesterday. Good, man. Where you live, Boosted? You're hardcore sleeping on desert ground. I'm afraid of snakes, spiders, and scorpions. So spiders and scorpions may be a deal at night, but snakes are not. Snakes typically, all cold-blooded animals need heat to move. So you're not going to see a whole lot of lizards and snakes and stuff running around. As far as spiders and scorpions, they're both very overrated as far as, I mean, the people have been portraying scorpions as the most deadliest thing in the desert for years. And, you think, oh, scorpion's going to bite me. They're not going to kill you any more than a typical spider bite would kill you. So, yeah, I think critters are very overrated as far as threats. Canada is incredibly bug-infested country. Anywhere I've been, the states I've been to seem to be the same. East Coast, Florida. Well, that's legit. I mean, I've grown up in the South, and we got more bugs per square acre than probably anywhere else outside of Alaska. Probably the South in general. Anywhere there's trees and water, you're probably typically going to find bugs. Desert, not so much. You're going to find some bugs, spiders and scorpions. They're not in the bug category, but critters, creepy crawlers that pester you. But the big deal for me is any kind of biting insects, like mosquitoes, biting flies. I mean, people bitch about mosquitoes, but those same people have never been hit by a biting fly. A horsefly is one of the many biting flies out there. And a mosquito, you never really feel the proboscis of the mosquito going in your skin. What your body is flooding that wound site, the place where the mosquito sucked all that blood. Your body floods white blood cells to fight off infection from that bite, that sting of the mosquito. That's where all the itching comes from, is that swelling around that. Imagine a biting fly, which is basically, instead of sticking this painless needle in your skin, biting flies stick these freaking saw blades in your skin, and that's how they get the sap out of your body, all the blood. They stick their little saw blades and they just saw into your skin. And man, you talk about some pain. That's some real pain. You want to protect yourself from those critters. But the issue I've got with all that is, number one, I imagine that you probably, if you're camping, you want to probably be outside anyway, unless you're just going in at the last minute. I mean, I've done this a few times, but I don't like setting up camp after dark. It sucks. It's hard to find a good spot, number one. You're tired, number two. And you're probably going to make mistakes setting up camp in the dark, and you're probably not going to get the best spot. So I typically like that. I mean, I go camping because I like to be in nature. I like to experience nature. So going and crawling in a tent to protect myself from the critters is not something I typically like to do. I've done it in a hammock. That's one of the things I want to talk about is the big difference in the joy of being in nature in a hammock versus a tent, because this is a big difference. And one of the phrases that I'm going to introduce you guys to is, have you ever heard of anybody going and hanging out in their tent? Like, man, this is great, and sitting here and watching the clouds move by, but I'm going to go hang out in my tent. Like, really? What are you going to do? I'm going to go hang out in my tent. I've done that many times in a hammock, but I can't remember ever going to a tent unless I was tired, unless I wanted to lay down and stretch out. I never can remember going to a tent to enjoy nature, but I do that all the time here. And you know, you can use this as a swing. Number one, I mean, you can't swing in a tent. Anyway, there's a bunch of ideas that are new that I want to introduce to people if y'all are interested. Hate deer flies. About the same as horse. Yeah, any kind of biting fly sucks, man. Anything that's got saws for teeth. Idea of camping, is it any hotel? Yeah, I think that's most people. Camping is caught dinner yesterday on my moto fishing ride. Yeah, I saw that video pop up. I just hadn't had a chance to check that out, man. My idea of camping is at a hotel. It's small, they are collapsible. Trust me, you don't like the Haven tent when I kept telling you to get it until you got it. You told me to get the Haven. I don't remember that. I don't like the Haven anymore. I'm done with the Haven. I got tired of popping the damn air mattresses. Had little better luck in Newfoundland the past summer. Go on a bike. Tyler, I've never found the flies. Too bad here in Newfoundland. I hope you had a great trip. There's a big orange and black ant here we call cow ants. If you get bit by one of those, oh boy. Yeah, we've got, I'm trying to remember what ours are. It's been a while. I've never encountered one in the wild, but I've studied bugs in school. Kind of, I really enjoyed entomology. Never used a hammock, mostly because I'm a side sleeper. That's the same way, Tyler. I was the same way. You just got to find the right hammock that you can sleep on your side. I'm a side sleeper. Every once in a while, I'll roll over onto my stomach. A little bit harder in a hammock to roll over on your stomach, which is why I really like the Haven. I'm really disappointed that thing didn't work out. Hey, mate, still working, just going to listen for a while. Nice work on the windshield. Yeah, thanks, Chris. Side slipper too. Yeah, I think I'm probably going to go into more detail about ASIM hammocks, the bridge hammocks. Of course, there's some good ones and there's some bad ones, but I'm going to talk about this Hennessy because this is starting to work out for me pretty well. I still got to figure out the underquilt because I'm still battling whether or not this padding, this Reflectix pad that comes with this thing. Well, it doesn't come with it. It's an accessory, but I think I may go back to the underquilt just because it's like the underquilt can be really warm, but the problem I've had with the past with underquilts is battling them because I flip and flop. I'll probably flip and flop less in this thing than previous hammocks, but if you're flipping and flopping, my elbows and knees tend to push the underquilt to one side or the other, and that's a big problem. It's kind of like pushing your sleeping bag off of you and not realizing it until your ass is freezing. That's kind of what happens in a hammock. So anyway, I want to talk about all those things. Any ideas from you guys about some stuff that y'all want to talk about? Hammocks, tents, motorcycle camping, because it's all coming up. I'm planning on doing some camping this winter, if I can just get my shit together. I got to get brakes before I go out in the woods. Either that or I can just pretend I rode my motorcycle out somewhere and throw a hammock up. I've already been camping. I went out to Luke's lake property. We hung out there. That was fun. It allowed me to get outside, which was really great. I love being outside, especially when it's somewhere where it's quiet. Like I'm outside here, but it's not very quiet. And it's getting freaking cold, and this sweater is way too thin. I just took a shower earlier. I was like, let me put on a new sweater without one of those hoods, and that other sweater that I was wearing is very thick, and it's got a very thick hood. It's very comfortable. But I made a mistake because it's cold. Uh, what did you do to pop the mattress? You go to bed with keys or something. You would think it was something silly like that, but no. Um, Almost every single time that I had popped the mattress, I was unable to find the leak. So in other words, typically you got a rubberized whatever. You stick it underwater. You spray some foaming soapy water on it. That's how you find a leak on anything that I'm aware of. Well, everything every air pad that I have used before that I lost, and that goes for everything. Pillows, I go through this stuff fast, and it may just be I'm 300 pounds. It may be that I live on this stuff, so I wear it out a lot faster. A lot of you folks just camp a few times a year. I go out weeks, months at a time, and so I live on this stuff. So it's kind of like the difference of driving your car to work every day, and then a race car driver. Who's going to break their car faster? A race driver, a racer, or somebody that's taking the kids to school and driving to work and back? That's the best guess I've got, just because I don't want to admit to being 300 pounds is the problem. But it makes a lot more sense if you think, I didn't pop the mattress. I haven't popped a single mattress yet. I haven't blown out a hole. I haven't punched a hole in it. If there was a hole, everything that I've got that's leaking now and in the past was a very, very, very slow leak, almost undetectable. So you can't hold it underwater and see bubbles coming up. If you could do that, then you could patch it, right? Well, none of that's the case. Now Bucky, how Bucky is a hammock with underquilt, sleeping bags, etc. It's, if you take out, I would say it's very close to a hiking tent. So if you think of a typical tent that you get at Walmart or Amazon or something, those are usually bulky and heavy, and they have tent poles. If you take all that stuff out, if you take that tent poles out, typically hammocks come in at least smaller, because you can compress the hammock stuff. And I'm going to show you all this stuff. I'm going to show you all the good and the bad about hammock camping, and the pros and the cons. For me, it's the number one thing is typically it's more comfortable sleeping in a hammock, but it opens up so many options for you. That's why it's hard for me to think of ever going back to tents, just because it's like it eliminates like 75% of the camping spots out there for me. If I say I got to have a flat spot that's relatively clean of stuff, so I don't want to clean up a 12 by 12 area so I could put my tent down. I mean, that's just kind of ridiculous to me. I mean, I have been known to cut brush out of the way so I can hang a hammock. I do that quite a bit. But to just be riding down the road that I've done so many times and going, oh, look, that's a cool little spot. Oh, look, there's a cool little spot over there. Oh, look, there's a cool little spot over there. Instead of, man, I just need someplace flat. I need a place that's flat. I don't care. I'm not looking for a good spot anymore. I just need a place that's flat. I need flat. I need flat without trees, without sticks, without a creek, a river. You can't camp in a bog in a tent, but you can camp in a bog in a hammock. That's crazy. That's the craziest thing. Is I can remember seeing in fact, I could probably find the picture of a guy in a kayak. You didn't see the guy. All you saw was the kayak that's tied off in between two trees, right? He's got the kayak tied off in between two trees. And then he went straight up from there and tied his hammock above his kayak. And so he's sitting in looks like a swamp, and it could be a river, but it's probably just a swampy area, probably tied off to some cypress trees. It was like, that's it. That is exactly it. There is no place that you can put a tent anywhere near where this guy was, but that's probably one of the most significant things. Is like, hey, where you camped at? I'm in the creek. What do you mean you're in the creek? Next to the creek? No, I'm in the creek. I'm in the bog. I'm in the swamp. I'm camped in the swamp. What do you mean? You can't camp in there. There's nothing flat. There's nothing dry. There's nothing. Yeah, well, okay, here, let me send you a picture. It opens up possibilities, and that's why I love hammock camping. The main reason. It opens up possibilities, and you can camp. I don't want to say anywhere because Frank nailed it earlier. So if you don't have trees, that's one of the few limitations. If you don't have trees, you can't hang a hammock unless you want to bring a 20-pound bag of Tensa hammock stands, I guess. We'll talk about all this stuff. Heated gear, like heated gloves. Your opinion, Mr. Giant. I've never used heated gear. I love heated gloves. I love heated grips. Makes a huge difference. I'm pretty well insulated. I wear pretty good riding gear. So I had heated seats on that RT that I just sold. I never turned them on. It's just those things. And maybe I would have a different opinion if I rode into the 20s, but typically 35, 40 degrees is about my bottom limit. I don't typically ride in that kind of weather just because we have warmer weather around here. Now I will. I'm not going across country in 35-degree weather unless I absolutely have to. And hopefully I've got heated grips or just got some heated gloves recently. They seem to be okay. Got some heated liners too for the other gloves that I have. Anyway, my first video I made was with the Tensa solo stands. By the way, advice on how to store gear with a hammock. That's a bit tricky because the gear can't go in like a tent. Well, there's little storage things underneath your hammock. I don't know if you've tried that. I got holes on my air mattress before so many times. What a pain. Yeah. Well, not just that. Those damn air mattresses are not cheap. At least the ones I use. The camping pads are not cheap. I could get 30 to 40 nights on a $20 Walmart mattress. Yeah, but those Walmart mattresses are huge. I think I may have a Walmart mattress somewhere, and those things last forever. But they're like 40 pounds, and they're as big as a small child. Yeah, you've got that luxury of being able to carry stuff around like that. I don't. Never been able to patch one. Yeah, I think you can't. You can probably patch. Well, no, the Walmart guys have that felt on the top. I don't think you can patch those, but I think all air pads are almost impossible to patch because the leaks are, and this is my hypothesis, is that it's not a piece of rubber anywhere around that mattress. It's a thin film of rubberized something that if you roll it up 20, 30 times, it starts leaking. And the more you roll it up, the more weight you put. I don't know what the whole picture is, but that's my idea. Is the problem is pervasive in the manufacture of these air pads, that's why I don't use a Haven anymore, because I need something I can count on. And if an essential element of the camping system is an air pad and it leaks, I'm not going to use it. So I'm done. I'm done with hammocks or Havens. I'm done with depending on anything. That's why I'm thinking those little squishy air pads, the little hard squishy guys that, there's air pockets in them. Those things roll up. Anything's better than sleeping on the ground. So anyway, I'm willing to look at anything nowadays. Dave's crazy trailer, just giving you I guess that's a hand by, a wave by. Oh, you're out, Dave. Good to see you, man. What's up, Matt? What do you think of the hammock? First I've ever heard of it, Frank. I'll look it up though. I always thought you didn't need an air mattress are you using for insulation? I'm going to talk about the insulation on hammocks because it's very important. Unless you're just you're only sleep in a if you only go camping in the summer and it's warm all the time you're out there, if it doesn't go below 70 degrees, you don't need any insulation. In fact, it's better to not have insulation if you're sweating your balls off when you go to bed. I don't need it too flat for the tent. Ultimate Urban Stealth Tool. What's that go? Old guy on a bike. You snowed in yet? That's a good question. The found car camping. You still got to watch the slant of the land too. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. If you're laying on basically what is the ground or something connected to the ground, you gotta. There's no adjusting. You can't lift up one edge of your tent or your car. I guess you could jack the car up. Only had dusting so far, right on the coast, so the weather has been wet but not too cold yet. We'll get the bike into cover this week. Good idea. My buddy, I just got here. Happy Thanksgiving all. Hey, welcome, Bad Dog. Working tonight, just stopping in to say hi. I'll listen when it's not live and I'm not tempted to participate. Well, thanks for dropping by, Evan, and saying hi. Appreciate that. I'm glad when people check in. No good airbag vest backpack deals for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Yeah, I have found, I think I figured this out years ago. Black Friday deals are for the stuff that they got way too much of and it's not selling very well. That's what Black Friday deals are for. They're not for the stuff that you want. they're definitely not for the stuff that you want, which I've always kind of thought was funny. Let me turn this light on, see if I can. Let me see if I can get this. I've got this little fancy light on because I plan to be filming out here. Ooh, wow, that's way too bright. Oh, dear God. Yeah, that's not too bad, huh? Yeah. Black Friday deals are for the crap that they got too much of and they need to get rid of inventory. And it was overpriced to start with. That's what a Black Friday deal is. Oh, we've marked it down. It's half price. It's like, well, no, it's probably the price you should have put on it to start with, and nobody bought it for double that. So, yeah, just to see those crazy people at the stores fighting each other for crap. That is the downfall of America as far as I'm concerned. You got to get in there and punch somebody in the face to get your crappy thing that's 25% off. You're going to kill somebody. You're going to put, how many people have been shot at those damn stores? Walmart, Target, all the crap where they're fighting over this box of this, this pile of crap. Yeah, I guess some of the most interesting things are the kids stuff. There's only a limited amount, so you got to go get your kid because your kid's gonna come unglued if you don't get your shit for your kid, right? It's getting dark. You need a light. Thanks, Frank. I want to try the Lawson Hammock Blue Ridge camping hammock tent. I think Gary had a Lawson and he still got it, but he's moved on to something else. Gary's new hammock, I need him to do a review. Maybe I'll do a review when I go out there in the spring. I'm hoping to go hang out with Gary in the spring. Maybe we're going to do Big Bend, ride Big Bend. They have a BDR around Big Bend. Big Bend's cool. It's desert, but it's cool. West Texas. But yeah, he's got a cool hammock that he absolutely loves, and yeah, I can't wait to hear more about it. Jim is lucky dusting. We just got 55 inches. Wow. Yeah, you must be further inland, Tyler. Is your temperature warm there? It's 30s here and 20s at night. Yeah, it's supposed to be 27 tonight. That's why I got all this crap set up, because I want to test the limits of this hammock. Because if I say, hey, 27 degrees is too cold. Doesn't matter what you do. Putting the underquilt on, putting this pad, and I think it'll be fine. So far, I think I've been into the mid 30s. I think with this Reflectix pad that's in here now. But I'll go into all that detail later. Just kind of wanted to talk about hammocks and hammock camping. But yeah, it's going to be down to 27 tonight, Ricardo. So yeah, it's getting brisk down here. It's kind of late in the year. Usually we get a shocker. We get a few days around the end of October. Usually the last week in October, around Thanksgiving, we get that bam. Oh, it's 35 degrees. You know, it goes from like 85 to 35, and then that's for a few days, and then after that shocker week goes by, it goes back into the 70s and 80s. But we never had that this time. Yeah, it's just now, I don't know, maybe for the last week we've had a couple of cold days, but yeah, the last week, this week's pretty chilly. It's going down in the 20s, which is why I'm out here sitting in front of a hammock. I'm doing it all for y'all. I'm doing it so I can pass on my knowledge. But the big thing for me is hammocks allow you, like I've been saying, hammocks allow you opportunities. Like, man, I really would like to get over there and camp next to that creek, but there's nothing flat. There's trees everywhere. There's no flat spots. And the flat spots that are there are not wide enough for me to put my tent in, or they've got stumps coming out, or they've got tree branches, or there's slopes, or there's water, or there's whatever. All that stuff goes away. As long as you got trees, you got a place to camp. But I'll be talking a lot more about that coming up, because what else am I going to do? I'm getting cold, folks. Spit out some questions, comments, so I can go inside. Are you in a tent? By the way, forward your videos to my friend after the chopping. They chopped his leg. He said he was over, so I've been sending him your videos. You're saying your friend has given up on motorcycles? That's probably not a bad choice. But when you're addicted like me, it's kind of hard to think of, like, what the hell else am I going to do with my life? What the hell else am I going to get on YouTube and run my mouth about if it's not motorcycles? If it's not motorcycles and camping, what is my point? What is my purpose? I gave up playing basketball 30 years ago. Yeah, golly, 30 years ago. I was just like, this is brutal. This is killing my body. I come home with an injury every third time I go out there and play. I don't play basketball anymore. I stopped mountain biking years ago when all my friends wised up and started, people that had significant incomes that were at risk if they were in the hospital or disabled. And I started thinking, well, it's like, I'm a young man. I bounce pretty good. What's the big deal? I got good insurance. Well, I don't care about that. And then the older I got, I was like, maybe I'm the stupid one. Maybe, oh, hey, puppies. Yeah, maybe I'm the stupid one. But yeah, I'm not going to judge anybody for giving up motorcycles. I've had several, I'm thinking maybe 20 plus people that have commented on some of my crash videos. Like, hey, I was thinking about it, but now your videos convinced me. I'm selling all my stuff. I'm getting out of bikes. I'm going to quit motorcycles. And I'm like, hey man, it's probably not a bad idea. If it doesn't mean that much to you, it's very dangerous. My nephew is talking about getting his dad's bike, and I'm going to do everything I can to try to talk him out of it, because it's dangerous. And I'm going to say, hey, look, man, if you really want to do it, it's not just impulsive. You need to learn how to ride your motorcycle. And the best way to do that is get a cheap dirt bike and go bust ass through the woods. When you fall off, you might break a bone, but you're not going to die if you got a helmet on. You're not going to die. unless you fall off a cliff. And he lives in Colorado, so he could completely do that. But yeah, that's my goal. What do y'all think about? I'm going to try to convince him to be on a live stream, and it may not be a live stream, but it will be something where we have a conversation. He's in Colorado. It's going to be a while, but he's wanting to buy his dad's Harley. And I'm like, that's a terrible first bike. It's a terrible first bike. Your first bike should be knobbies. Should have very light, low power, light motorcycle with good suspension that you can take off road and learn how to ride and crash in the dirt, because you're gonna crash. You're gonna crash somewhere learning how to ride a motorcycle. And the more you crash, the more often you crash, and figure out, oh, I crashed because I grabbed too much brake, or turned too hard, or I had my ass on the seat when I went over those whoops, and then I went over the handlebars. All that stuff is much better to learn that stuff in the dirt. And it does a couple of things. If you learn to ride a motorcycle in the dirt, it proves immediately that it's not an ego thing, that it's not an image thing. Immediately, because nobody goes and buys a motorcycle to pick up chicks. If it's a dirt bike, that's not where the chicks are. They're not hanging out there. They're not hanging out at the bar waiting for you to come up on your on your enduro. Bing, 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 bing. They're just not there. So it immediately proves that you're not buying a motorcycle to be that cool guy. So if it kills those two birds, those are the two birds you need to kill before you kill yourself. And that's my consistent message to new riders, the people that are thinking about getting a bike. I try to talk them out of it. For years, I've been trying to talk people out of getting motorcycles. I'm behind on the chats here. Sorry, y'all. Reason me coming over here. 47 Tornado. Which other bikes were you thinking of getting before you got the Tenere? That was it. I rode this Tenere across the Tat, Ricardo, and I loved it. And there's not a whole lot of motorcycles in this range of type of motorcycle that fit me. I've ridden in an Africa Twin. It's too big. It's too heavy. It doesn't fit all the needs. And the T7 is heavy, but it's 100 pounds lighter than an Africa Twin. I'm sure there's some other bikes out there. I was really curious about the newer V-Stroms. I have a V-Strom now in Hawaii. That's my second one. I've always liked the V-Stroms. They're very dependable. But I'm guessing they're probably too heavy for what I'm trying to do too. I'm trying to think of something else. KTM's never entered into my thinking. The last KTM I was interested in was a 690. I rode a 690. I really like the 690s, but I don't like the maintenance service intervals on KTMs. I don't like working on them. I don't like fixing breaking parts. I really like XRs and DR 650s. But yeah, finding those bikes are hard because everybody wants what they paid for them and all the farkles. They want all that money back, and I'm never going to give those people that money. So, I think I took a tent on my last outing here, southern New Mexico. I was not able to find any trees close enough to each other. It's a desert here. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. I don't know if you may have missed out on that conversation. Yeah, if you're in the desert, why do you need a tent? Why don't you just roll a pad out? And it gets cold in the desert, so that might be one reason. It gets cold in the desert, and occasionally it rains. But if you're in the desert, you probably don't have a lot of bugs. True or false? I've spent many a desert night staring up at the stars, laying on a ground pad. So, yeah, why do you take a tent if you're in the desert? You have some sort of schedule for these live chats? No, they're always kind of spur. Typically, I like to do them on Sundays and Mondays. Sunday evening, Monday evening. But yeah, it's just if I've got time, if the sun's still out. And if the sun's not out, I bring my own sun. I, for one, am looking forward to stealth camping again. Hell yeah, man. I'm just anything camping. What's up, Don? Who is that? What's up, Solon? Dirt bike, small displaced street bike to learn. Yep. You need to learn it somewhere. And dirt, falling in dirt is much more forgiving than falling on pavement. Look at my freaking knees, man. I'm still healing 6 months later. Touaregs. I'm very curious about the Touareg, but it's a little bit too exotic, a little bit too rare. I like to be able to fix my bike. I don't like waiting 6 weeks for parts. And yeah, I like the stuff that has replacement parts out there or aftermarket. I mean, can you get anything for the Touareg that's not $1,500? Is there something aftermarket that you can get to slap on that bike that's not $1,500? Yeah, I'm very curious about it, but I'll be more than happy to ride your Touareg. JTM is going broke, kind of like that. CB500s, yeah, they're cool. They don't have a lot of ground clearance, so it probably wouldn't be a good fit for me. But you said you had a rod in your tib fib. What was the recovery like for that? Yeah, it sucked too, Joe. The recovery. I was just talking to Luke yesterday about that. It's like I had a point where there was so much pain walking on that damn thing that I was like, man, I wonder if I could just have this rod pulled out. They just cut my leg off and make me get something else because this sucks. So the recovery was nowhere near as bad as this, but at the time it was dramatic. Hell, I was riding a motorcycle after my tib fib, after that surgery. I think it was 4, 5, 6 weeks afterwards. I was on a motorcycle. I wasn't comfortable. It wasn't fun, but I was on a motorcycle, and yeah, much difference. Big, huge difference. I didn't even get my leg for 3 months. You know, I couldn't walk at all without crutches or a wheelchair. So yeah, huge difference. And then even after I got my leg, right? I mean, y'all saw how long it took me to get back on the bike. A bike. How did you deal with the small fuel tank on the tap with the T7? It's not a small tank. It's almost 5 gallons. It's huge. In fact, this bike, Richard installed a Rotex, whatever those rotating clip, the things that the gas tanks that have a hole in it that you can take up to a pump and fill it up and snap it on your bike. It had a gallon, whatever the hell, those Rotex things. It had it on there, and I was playing with it the other day to see how hard it was to take off. Well, I was going to see if there was gas in it, and I couldn't get the damn thing off because there's no saddlebags on there. But it was mounted so close to the frame, the plastic was keeping the thing from. I couldn't pull the gas tank off. So I was like, number one, I'd have to pull the saddlebags off to get to the screws to be able to put. So I had to basically pull the mounting bracket plate off this thing to get the gas tank off the thing. It's like, I got 4.5. I guess it's like 4.7. I can't remember. It's plenty of fuel. I think I had a 200 plus mile range. I don't know. It was close to 200 miles. It's not like those 2 gallon tanks that are out there. And it'll probably get 40 miles a gallon. So, you know, if I'm conservative, I can get to where I want to go. And if I can't, I'll figure out something else. I'll stop and get a gallon of fuel. I don't think we ever ran out of fuel on the tap, but we got pretty close a couple of times. We had to run into Kansas to get fuel because it appears anyway that we were way too far, because Richard's KLX, I think, is like 120 mile range. But yeah, there's plenty of fuel on the T7. I mean, depending on what you want to do. I don't want to carry fuel around any more than I have to. Well, shit, y'all. It's getting freaking cold out here. I'm going back in the house. Thanks for hanging out. There'll be more coming here soon. Latest.